Hey guys, JD here with the Yamaha FX SVHO WaveRunner. And today I've got a package from my friends at Fizzle Racing. So Fizzle is just south of me here. They're in Lake Worth, Florida. So they're local. I know they're a big name in performance parts for Yamaha and Sea-Doo. So I reached out to them. I said, hey, you guys want to do a feature together? All right, so here we've got the Fizzle BOV tubing kit for the Yamaha FX SVHO. So this replaces your factory supercharger to intercooler duct and allows you to add a BOV. Comes in a couple different colors. They sent me the black one here, so that looks pretty cool. Fizzle also sent me their vacuum port adapter kit. This installs easily on the factory temp sensor and allows you to add up to 3 vacuum accessories, including a fuel pressure regulator, a boost gauge, and of course the BOV. All right, and then of course we've got some adapters. We've got the hose here, and then of course the kit does come with that standard barb if you want to just tap the manifold on your own. Got some stickers. I'm definitely gonna have to add those to the ski. And then here we've got a TiAl 50mm BOV made in USA. We've got the ducting, we've got the boost reference port adapter, we've got the sleeve there, we've got the tubing kit, and then of course we've got that TiAl 50mm made in USA BOV. So this is one of the easiest modifications you can do to your ski. It does not require a separate tune. There's some debate online. Some people say that this doesn't make a difference at all with clutch longevity. They say, you know, it does nothing. And then there's the guys who say, oh my God, this extends the life of the clutch. So the biggest thing I see is people say, oh, throttle control is the best way to maintain your supercharger clutch. Well, for us guys that ride in the ocean, if you're coming in and out of the water, throttle control is impossible. Forget about it. You're going to be coming in and out of the water repeatedly, hundreds and hundreds of times on any given ride. And you're in the water, you come out, your crank, your engine unloads, you hit the water, everything loads up again. But when you pop out of the water, I always let off the throttle. But what this does is this is going to help us relieve that back pressure and that compressor surge that occurs when I fly out of the water. I let off the throttle plates snap closed, and where does that extra boost go? Well, in the case of the Yamaha SVHO on a stock machine, the system is designed to absorb that additional surge, so they say. So with the Yamaha, with ocean riding, I've talked to enough guys in performance shops that all recommend having this BOV even on a stock machine. So when you're in an off-throttle situation and you have excessive levels of boost, you're forcing more air through the engine. So this is going to relieve that air. It's going to vent it to atmosphere. Before you purchase a Fizzle blow-off valve tubing kit and BOV, figure out whether or not you want to keep your factory airbox. If you do want to keep the factory airbox, you can choose either the Turbo Smart made in Australia BOV or the HKS made in Japan BOV. If you wish to run the TiAl US made 50mm BOV, like I'm installing in this video, you will have to remove your factory airbox assembly. In a separate tutorial, I remove the stock airbox and install a Riva power filter kit. So this is exceedingly easy to do. What we're going to do is remove both of these hose clamps here to get this duct out of the way. So you're going to use a 7mm socket just to loosen these up. It's really only a couple of hose clamps. And then this duct is going to come out right like that. And you can see that my ski is new, so there's no oil or anything in here. But you can see that that is pretty deformed. For a hose that's taking boost, it's pretty, pretty spongy. Now, let's get our Fizzle BOV tubing kit ready for assembly before we install it into the WaveRunner. It's important to assemble everything outside of the engine compartment in case you drop any small components. So first, let's start with this band. The band comes pre-assembled, so you'll have to unassemble it to get it on to the flange. The band comes apart in 3 pieces. You have this stainless bolt here, and then you have 2 ferrules. One of them is threaded, and one of them is not. Now you do have to bend this out just a little bit. I've bent it out just enough to get this BOV and flange together, because this basically, you can see that this has got a flange here, and then the TiAl BOV has a flange. These two parts go together, and then this is going to go and hold those together. So we're going to take our BOV, and you can see that you've got a little ridge here. That's for this O-ring that's included with the BOV. Get that in place. And then we're going to take this flange from Fizzle here, and we're going to put these two pieces together like this. This aluminum tension clamp comes in now. So I've got it, again, I've got it bent out just enough to fit right over here like this. Okay, so we're going to pop that over like that. And then what I'm going to do is hold it together with one hand here. And we're now going to install, so this little ferrule here you could see has a thread. And then this one here does not have a thread, and it's got a flat part and a rounded part. You want the flat part to be facing outwards because that's where the edge of this bolt is going to seat. So this is going to go through right like this. And then you're going to use a 4mm Allen to tighten that up. So when it comes to this particular clamp here and the BOV, you can position this however you'd like. When you're positioning this, you might want to, maybe you don't care how the text is positioned, but basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to position this with the TiAl logo straight up, and then this clamp right at the bottom there. And this way, once it's in the ski, this is what you'll see, the top part, and then the bottom of the bracket will be here. So now we have to assemble the Banjo fitting on the top of our BOV here. So that has 4 parts. You have 2 small crush washers, you have the Banjo fitting itself, and then you have this bolt. So what you're going to do is you're going to take one of those washers, put them on the bolt, then you're going to take the Banjo fitting, put the bolt through, and then you're going to put this final fitting on the bolt just like that. And then we're going to install this right into the BOV body. Now, once this is in the ski, you can always adjust, you can always loosen this a little bit and adjust the exact position of this barb here. This is going to be a 10mm socket. Okay, so now the TiAl BOV is assembled to the flange here and ready to go into the tubing. This tubing is basically going to go in the ski like this. This opening will be pointed to the left part of the ski. So the first thing we're going to do is put one of these hose clamps in place. And then with this, it's just going to slide right in. Just like that. And now I want to take a moment to show you these hose clamps that Fizzle sent with the kit. So take a look at that. Made in UK. These are extremely high quality hose clamps. You'll see that some competitors will send you clamps made in Mexico or made in China, but Fizzle really has produced and assembled a quality kit here. So these clamps we'll put on once we go over to the ski, because they'll just fall off if I put them on loosely now. This clamp right here and these 2 clamps are all going to be torqued to 4.4 foot-pounds. So for now, I'm just going to leave this one loose because I'll torque them all together once they're in the ski. All right, so let's go and install this. So here is our BOV and tubing, and this is really easy to install. So again, we have these 2 hose clamps here, and you're just going to get these on. All right, like this. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to install this hose on the supercharger first. So you can see I've got that right there. You can just get it on just like that. So I've got that part there on the supercharger. Now I'm going to get this on the intercooler. So what you're going to do is just push down like this as you pull forward, and you just kind of work it a little bit, and it goes on pretty easily. And I just want to show you there is a stop right here on the intercooler, and there's also a stop on the supercharger body, so you can't put it on too far. All right, so now we're going to get each of these hose clamps in place, and I'm going to go through and torque them all to 4.4 foot-pounds. Okay, perfect. All these hose clamps here will use a 7mm socket. Now let's install the vacuum port adapter. What we're going to do is we are going to remove this little temp sensor right there, And this is going to go right in its place and requires no drilling of the manifold and gives us a reference tap right there. And then you've got a couple plugs, a couple other ports in case you want to add a boost gauge or maybe a fuel pressure regulator. So the first thing you're going to need is a 17mm deep well socket. And then what we're going to do is you're going to reach in and you're going to take the clip itself and you're going to put it inside that socket all the way up as far as it'll go. And then you're just going to kind of coil that wire into the socket the best that you can. So once you pop it free, it should be pretty easy to get out. All right, there we go. Now let's get this all assembled. So you guys can see that I went ahead and removed the wire harness and the fuel line and everything just to make this a little easier to see for the video. You don't have to do this on your own ski, obviously. But here is that port right down there. So this was the base crush gasket. We're going to make sure that we install that as well. So here you have our thread sealant, and we're going to put that crush gasket like that. And then you also have that little crush gasket that goes on that fitting itself. Make sure that's in place. So you don't want to chance it with this sensor. It needs to be torqued properly. If you over torque it, you can break the plastic. If you under torque it, you can have a leak. So now we have this assembly here, and you can see that I've installed the plug on the bottom. I've installed a plug right here, and I've installed this barbed fitting right here. So I did use thread sealant on all these threads. Right like that. Make sure that the small aluminum crush washer is lined up properly between the sensor and the housing of the vacuum port adapter. And we're going to tighten this in, and then we're going to torque this to 11 foot-pounds. All right, so this is now torqued to 11 foot-pounds. Okay, so now let me give you a look at how I've got my vacuum hose routed here. So you can see I've got it zip tied. We've got it attached to our vacuum port adapter. And then I just ran this hose through this factory tie here. You don't want to pinch the vacuum hose. You just want to make sure that it's routed. Okay, so then here's our hose, and we're just going to go ahead and install it on this barbed fitting right here. And once you get that hose on, we then want to just add this zip tie just to make sure it doesn't go anywhere. Okay, so there is the zip tie in place. And remember, if you have to adjust this barb, you could do so by loosening this 10mm bolt and then retightening it. Fizzle does recommend assembling this BOV outside of the ski, like I did in this video, to avoid dropping any components. So as I mentioned earlier in the video, if you don't want to remove the factory airbox and you want to keep that factory airbox, then you can run this Fizzle BOV tubing kit, but you have to run an HKS or a TurboSmart BOV with the stock airbox. The stock airbox will rub against the TiAl BOV. It won't really fit. Many people ask, is it normal for the BOV to be open at idle? The answer is yes. Up to about 5,000 RPM, the BOV is intentionally open to bleed off extra boost. This reduces back pressure in the system. When it comes to the life of your supercharger's clutch, the guys at Fizzle have found that adding a BOV improves clutch life, especially when a more powerful supercharger impeller is being utilized. Following your first ride after installing the BOV kit, check all hose clamps for torque, and if loose, retorque them to 4.4 foot-pounds. Well, I hope this video has been helpful in showing you how to install the Fizzle BOV tubing kit, the TiAL 50mm Q-Series BOV, and the Fizzle vacuum port adapter kit. Special thank you to the team at Fizzle for hooking me up with these awesome components. For this BOV kit and other race-proven Fizzle products, visit them online at fizzlefactory.com. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button and subscribe for more exclusive jet ski content, only on JD's Waterworld.